Okay, let's continue. There were 4 games yesterday, so this is Mamedyarov against Boris Gelfand. Okay, so Mamedyarov kicks off with e4, and we get a Sicilian defense. Okay, knight f3 d6. After d4, open Sicilian. Najdorf variation, bishop e3, and instead of e6, which probably encourages white to play very aggressively, in fact e5 is played, slightly compromising the d5 square, but this does seem to be a safe way of equalising with black. White's going to castle kingside for a start, and black now, after rook e1, okay, he's got some problems to solve. The d5 square, how would he solve that? Later, actually, he solves it with bishop e6, and he offers d6. So it's quite creative how black has equalised so far in the games, and this game's no different. So bishop b3, rook b8. You might ask here, can black try and go for the pawn? That's highly unlikely, but let's stick on an engine just to answer that question. b4, there'll be knight d5. So the problem here is if knight takes e4, there's bishop b6, which gives white apparently a completely winning advantage. The reason is this bishop move has just unleashed an attack against the knight. It's got nothing to do with knight c7. So that's the reason. Knight d5. Okay, this pawn's immune because of bishop b6. That'd be nasty. No, actually, technically though, knight c7 is also a good move. But rook takes e4 will do. Okay, is the best move in fact. Rook e4 according to Houdini. So rook b8. And now bishop g5. So white, by snapping off the knight on f6, obviously is going to emphasize control of d5 without sacrificing anything. And now bishop e6, so offering double pawns, which looks like a dynamic decision. So black's putting in some creative energies here. In this game, in the previous game, we've skimmed over the Topolov game. Because here there's also a problem with d6. It's going to be under fire because black really wants to take with the bishop now, not to have horrendous double pawns. And after knight d5, so white's got a big bind on d5 here. Bishop g5, not minding knight g5 here. That would still be an advantage to white actually, knight g5, according to Houdini. Queen takes g5, say rook e3, rook left, coming in. Only a small advantage to white, but actually that wasn't played, just actually here, queen d3. So queen d3 probably is designed, I think, against f5. I think f5's not playable here. In any case, because of the diagonal, there's knight c7. Whoa! Knight c7. So if bishop takes b3, there'll be queen takes b3 check. Blimey, it really is designed against f5. I was only speculating that. So here, white will be winning the exchange. So queen d3 actually so makes f5 impossible because of knight c7. Good stuff. So bishop h6, more conservative. Maybe he'd also be tempted to move his king, perhaps. But d6 is a problem here, an immediate problem to solve, because white's going to mount pressure on that d file. So how does black solve this? Rook ed1 to fix target, as fixed as they get, with white completely reinforcing control of d5. So king h8, and now knight c3, just unleashing the attack on d6, the battery. But black calmly just sacrifices now the d6 pawn temporarily. Queen b6. After takes, white snatches the pawn, but then we have knight d4 interfering with the queen's protection and to get this knight f3 check in. And this is still better for white in theory, but not much better, 0.47. So simplification of material. Black's bishop is potentially useful, and obviously, of course, these double pawns. That was immune, of course, because of the back row issue at the moment. It's immune, but now king g8 is actually threatening, perhaps, to take on f3. But white first takes on b5, and actually doesn't bother about f3, just attacks b5. After b4, doesn't move the knight, but plays this tactical move, rook b5. We get an exchange of rooks. Now you might ask here, well, what if takes and then taking on f3? It's no big deal for white to lose the double pawn, so probably king g2, and white stands a little bit better here. His rook's more active, the knight's not too bad, so that would be an advantage to white. Knight d6. Still not a huge advantage according to Houdini, but advantage to white. But okay, let's go back. So rook b5. So rooks came off. So here white is technically a pawn up, but it's a pretty restrained extra pawn. White's got nice possession of the d file, but black is immediately putting pressure on c2. That has to be resolved, that issue. King comes into the center, preparing for the end game, and after bishop c5, bishop's got a nice square, actually d4 here, and white gives up one of those pawns to play b4 to emphasize this passed pawn kind of trump card, but it's not really enough in this position. Black has, it seems, adequate resources here now to stop that pawn from doing anything significant. Bishop d4 shuts off the rook from the d7 square. After knight b3, actually they agreed a draw. It is actually technically equal here, according to Houdini, after check. For example, knight c5, g5, putting a restraint on f4, otherwise d4 is being undermined. Let's just follow this a little bit. So this kind of position, if white tries to make progress, he's going to lose material and lose the game. Bishop takes c5 would be a bit embarrassing. So he can't move that pawn. He's kind of stuck here. He can't really make progress. So I guess a draw was a fair result. Okay. I don't want to make up moves when going over this game again. So it was around about here that a draw was agreed. Okay, let's have a quick overview and summary. So yeah, I think that, you know, the equalization process is done creatively in these last couple of games, and avoiding major traps like b4. No, but I'm just pointing that out just in case anyone was wondering. So bishop e6. So temporary concession by black here. To lose that d6 pawn, but this knight d4 is very nice. So logically, like using that developed rook, which was protecting the queen, interfering with white's protection of the queen. So getting the queens off, accepting being a pawn down, but it's fine. It was proven to be fine, rather. Okay. Comments or questions on YouTube? Thanks so much.